You know the feeling. I mean, it's like it's one of the most relatable, really uniquely modern paradoxes we face today.
Oh, absolutely.
You hit a wall in life, maybe your career suddenly stalls out, or um, a long-term relationship crumbles.
Right. Or you just wake up one morning feeling entirely hollow, just lost.
Yeah, exactly. And the very first instinct, almost universally, is to try and fix it, you
To
know?
scramble for a strategy.
Right. You look for a 5-step plan, a new morning routine, a book, anything to get things back on track.
Well, we live in a culture that's just obsessed with optimization.
Mm.
We are deeply conditioned to believe that, every problem is just an equation we haven't solved yet.
Like if we just apply the right mindset, push a little harder.
Do the quote-unquote correct things, reality will eventually bend to our will.
Yeah, we treat our own lives like a broken engine, assuming we just need to find the right wrench to tighten the bolts.
Which is such a dangerous trap.
It really is. But today, we are going deep into a source that entirely shatters that illusion. It's a great piece. It is. What if the very act of trying to fiercely fix your life is exactly what is making it so unbearable?
Yeah.
Like, what if the harder you try to be correct, the deeper you sink into the mud?
It's a terrifying premise because it challenges the core foundation of how we approach hardship,
Totally.
but it's also incredibly liberating once you understand the mechanics behind it.
So we're looking at a deeply personal, incredibly reflective essay today. It's titled, "The Essence of Life I Realized Looking Up at the Sky in a Park at Night."
Wow, quite a title.
Right. And it serves as this raw, unfiltered record of one person's journey through profound hardship.
And the fascinating part is where their recovery actually started.
Yes, because it didn't begin in a therapist's office, and it definitely didn't begin in a best-selling self-help book.
Not at all.
It began on a random park bench in the middle of the night.
Because the author, they strip away all the cultural noise.
Mm.
They force us to look really closely at the architecture of our own suffering. They highlight the danger of applying mechanical solutions to deeply human exhaustion.
Right, which brings us to our mission today. We want to explore those hidden traps of doing the right thing when you're already completely running on empty.
Which so many of us do.
We all do it.
Yeah.
And we are going to break down the crucial, often misunderstood difference between giving up and true acceptance.
That's a big one.
It is. And ultimately, we want to uncover how you can find the space to just breathe when your carefully laid plans completely disintegrate. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because to really grasp why staring at an indifferent night sky was so healing for this author, we have to look at what drove them to that park bench in the first place.
Well, the source of their misery is actually highly counterintuitive.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the external problems they were facing. It wasn't just the career issues or the relationship struggles.
Wait, really? What was it then?
The true source of their suffering, the thing actively crushing them, was their relentless pursuit of correctness.
Man, this part of the essay hit me so hard. The author describes hitting a really low point where things just were not going their way.
Right, despite their absolute best efforts.
Exactly. Despite being sincere and working incredibly hard, they were misunderstood. Their work wasn't paying off. They were just, spinning their wheels in the mud.
So naturally, they turned to self-help.
As we all do, they devoured book after book, trying desperately to overhaul their mindset.
They adopted all those classic strategies our culture prescribes for a slump. Waking up at dawn, practicing forced gratitude.
Ugh, forced gratitude.
Mandating positive thinking, setting rigid daily goals, and just constantly pushing for more action.
Okay, I have to pause here because this is where my own brain gets tripped up.
Yeah.
On paper, those things have proven benefits. There's actual neuroscience backing the power of gratitude and optimism. So if you're feeling terrible, actively trying to notice the good things in your life seems like a logical, healthy step. I really struggle to see how trying to be positive can actively backfire and make the situation worse.
Well, it comes down to cognitive load and capacity.
Okay, explain that.
The author makes a profound realization here. When you have a full tank of gas, those strategies are great tools for growth.
Right, when things are good.
But when you are already physically, emotionally, and spiritually exhausted, you just don't have the internal resources to execute those strategies.
Oh, wow.
So these correct concepts no longer act as a ladder to pull you out of the hole.
What do they become then?
They transform into new metrics for failure. They become literal weapons for intense self-judgment.
I see. Because you're exhausted, you inevitably fail at the self-help, which just gives you one more thing to hate yourself for.
Think about the underlying unspoken premise the author was operating under.
The core belief.
Right. The core belief is, if I think right, act right, and live right, my life will be orderly.
Which is a huge assumption.
Exactly. When you deeply believe that equation, and your life is still a chaotic mess despite your best efforts, your brain naturally looks for the broken variable.
And it assumes that variable must be you.
Exactly.
So the cycle becomes incredibly toxic. The author actually writes about how this played out in real time.
Yeah, with the gratitude stuff.
Right. If they couldn't muster up a genuine feeling of gratitude on a particularly dark Tuesday, they didn't just feel sad.
No, they took it a step further.
They labeled themselves as immature.
The self-help vocabulary was completely turned inward as an attack.
Jeez.
If they couldn't force themselves to be perfectly positive, they labeled themselves as lazy. If they couldn't take massive, world-conquering action, they were weak.
They basically built an internal courtroom where they were constantly on trial.
And the standard for innocence was absolute perfection.
So the words that were supposed to lighten their load were literally adding heavy weights to it.
That's a great way to put it.
It makes me think of treating life as if it's a vending machine.
Oh, I like that analogy.
You walk up to it with this ingrained expectation. I put in the coin of positive thinking. I press the button of hard work, so the universe absolutely owes me a smoothly running life.
Right.
But when the candy bar doesn't drop, you don't question the machine. You just keep frantically pressing the button and kicking the glass, getting more and more frustrated.
That perfectly captures the absurdity of the situation. The text explicitly points out that life is simply not a device.
No, it's not.
It's not a machine programmed to execute our business plans or respect our daily schedules.
Things happen.
Situations shift, just like weather patterns.
Yeah.
People's feelings change without warning.
Yeah.
And when we try to exert total control over a system that is fundamentally uncontrollable, our mind loses any safe harbor.
It's just in a state of constant, exhausting friction with reality.
Which naturally leads to the breaking point.
The friction becomes way too much. The author is utterly exhausted. The self-help books have basically become psychological torture devices.
And they find themselves lying on a park bench in the middle of the night.
Because they had hit the absolute limit of their capacity to fight reality.
The scene they paint is so vivid.
It really is. They write that they had absolutely no desire to see anyone, no energy to even walk the rest away home.
They just lay there on the wood of the bench.
Feeling the night wind. And here is the paradox that really challenged me.
Okay.
Their external problems regarding work, their broken relationships, their crushing anxiety about the future, not a single one of those things was solved.
Right. Nothing had changed objectively.
The objective reality of their life was still a total disaster. And yet, lying there, they felt this strange, quiet fulfillment, a genuine sense of calmness.
It seems impossible, doesn't it?
Yeah. How do you find peace inside a burning building?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the peace doesn't come from putting out the fire.
It doesn't.
No, it comes from a radical psychological shift in how you relate to the fire.
Okay.
The author describes looking up at the slow movement of the clouds and the blurry streetlights.
Right.
And in that specific environment, a very damaging mental process suddenly stopped. The author calls this process the futures trial.
The futures trial. I want to make sure I understand the mechanics of this. Is that basically the doom spiral?
Somewhat, yes.
Like when you're having a terrible day and your brain immediately tries to convince you that your entire life is ruined and you will never be happy again.
It's deeply related to that. Human brains are essentially prediction machines.
Right, to survive.
Exactly. From an evolutionary standpoint, predicting threats keeps us alive. But when we are in deep emotional pain, that prediction software goes into overdrive.
It just spins out of control.
We don't just process the pain of the current minute, we project it forward indefinitely.
We put ourselves on trial for a future that hasn't happened yet.
Yes. We ask, will this heavy feeling last forever? Or, how will I ever recover my career from this mistake?
So you are basically taking the hypothetical weight of the next 20 years and stacking it on top of your present moment.
It creates an unbearable cognitive load.
No wonder they couldn't even walk home.
Exactly. But staring at the night sky, hit the pause button on that predictive machinery.
Because they were forced out of the hypothetical future.
And anchored completely into the immediate physical present.
For just that 1 hour, they completely dropped the obligation to fix tomorrow.
Which is huge.
There's a striking line in the essay where the author describes observing their own suffering as if they were looking at a complete stranger.
I love that part.
They just looked at their own body and thought, is this tired?
That marks a profound moment of detachment. The internal dictator, the voice constantly screaming, "Work harder, don't be lazy, optimize your routine."
Right, the voice we all have.
It finally ran out of oxygen. That voice just faded away into the vastness of the sky.
So the choice of the night sky isn't just poetic decoration, is it?
Not at all.
Being out in nature played a real mechanical role in this realization.
The text places huge emphasis on the sheer scale and the absolute indifference of the natural world.
Right.
When you look up at the night sky, you're confronted with a massive system that does not care about your human schedule.
It really doesn't.
The stars are not rushing to meet a quarterly projection. The clouds don't move faster because you are anxious about a deadline.
It's almost comforting.
It is.
Yeah.
The universe clearly does not operate on human convenience.
It is the ultimate visual proof that the world is uncontrollable.
And finding comfort in that indifference is a huge relief. The author realized they had been moving through life, secretly issuing commands to reality.
Like, my career should look like this by age 30.
Or, this person should treat me this way.
Yeah.
The silence of the night sky obviously didn't offer a magical solution to their career problems, but it provided a deeper answer.
It proved that the universe is simply not a smart home device waiting for our voice commands. So once you drop the illusion of control, once you realize the vending machine is broken and your voice commands are useless, you're left with a massive shift in perspective.
You have to transition from a state of constant resistance to a state of acceptance.
And the author uses this brilliant, simple analogy to explain this shift.
The umbrella one, right?
Yeah, they say, it's easier to put up an umbrella than to scream at the rain to clear up.
It perfectly encapsulates the transition from fighting reality to navigating reality.
But, okay, I have to play devil's advocate here and really push back on this concept of acceptance.
Sure.
Because it's so often weaponized or just misunderstood. Like, if someone is going through a genuinely terrible time, maybe they're dealing with a severe health crisis or they're trapped in a toxic work environment. If they just say, well, the universe doesn't take my orders, this is just how it is, doesn't that become incredibly passive?
That's a valid concern.
Isn't acceptance just a socially acceptable term for giving up and letting life steamroll you?
That is the most dangerous trap people fall into when interpreting this philosophy.
Okay, good.
And the source text draws a very sharp, crucial line here. Acceptance is absolutely not resignation.
How so?
Acceptance is not saying, I am satisfied with this terrible situation, or I deserve to be treated poorly.
So what is the functional difference, then, between accepting a bad situation and giving up to it?
It comes down to data gathering versus passing judgment.
Data gathering.
Yes. Acceptance is simply acknowledging the baseline reality without adding a layer of emotional resistance. It is saying, this is the current state.
Like looking at the rain and saying, it is raining and I am getting wet.
Exactly. When you refuse to accept reality, you stand in the downpour screaming at the clouds, demanding they part because it is unfair that it's raining on your specific parade.
Oh, wow. So the person screaming at the sky feels like they're fighting back. They feel productive because they're exerting energy, but in reality, they're just getting soaked and losing their voice.
The energy spent resisting the unchangeable is entirely wasted.
Wow. Yeah.
When you finally acknowledge reality, okay, it is raining, I don't like it, it is uncomfortable, but it is happening. That is the exact moment you reclaim your agency.
Because now you can do something about it.
You can finally figure out the next actionable step. You can say, I need to find an umbrella, or I need to seek shelter.
You physically cannot open the umbrella while your hands are balled into fists, shaking them at the sky.
Precisely.
So releasing the chains of how things should be allows your mind to take a breath and survey the actual landscape.
You stop fighting the weather and start figuring out how to navigate the terrain.
And the author explicitly notes that after that long night on the park bench, their external difficulties hadn't vanished.
No, the broken relationships and the career anxiety were still waiting for them the next morning.
But what fundamentally changed was how their mind approached those difficulties.
The violent internal collision between how things are and how things should be just stopped.
And when you remove that internal friction, walking through the exact same difficult landscape feels entirely different.
It really does.
Which brings up the most practical question. Once you've accepted that it's raining and you finally opened that umbrella, how do you actually start walking again?
The recovery phase.
Yeah. Moving from a state of total collapse to actively moving forward is a huge leap. What does the actual process of recovery look like in this new framework?
Well, according to the source, true recovery is aggressively unspectacular.
Aggressively unspectacular. That is not what the self-help books
That
promise.
certainly isn't.
Yeah.
The author makes it very clear that there was no sudden dramatic metamorphosis.
They didn't wake up the next morning overflowing with boundless energy.
No, they weren't ready to conquer the world with a new 10-step plan.
There is no cinematic movie montage where they drink a green juice, go for a run, and suddenly have their life perfectly together while an upbeat pop song plays in the background.
Definitely no montage. Recovery, as experienced and described in the text, was a slow, incredibly gradual decrease in self-blame.
Just a decrease in blame.
It was simply the act of taking slightly deeper breaths. It was a collection of tiny, almost imperceptible micro-recoveries accumulated day by day.
I want to dig into the biology or like the psychology of why that is. Why does dropping the armor of correctness actually restore our energy?
It comes down to the concept of emotional calories.
Emotional calories, okay.
When you are constantly performing strength, when you are pretending everything is fine while internally falling apart, you are burning an immense amount of cognitive energy.
Because you're constantly monitoring yourself.
Right. You're monitoring your facial expressions, carefully choosing your words, suppressing your natural urge to sigh or cry.
That sounds exhausting.
That takes a massive toll on your executive function.
So by dropping the performance, by sitting on the bench and admitting, I am this tired, you stop burning all those emotional calories on the illusion.
Exactly. When you stop funding the performance, those calories and that energy are finally diverted toward actual cellular and emotional repair.
You heal because you finally allow your system to rest.
Yes.
But there is a harsh truth embedded in this part of the essay, though.
What's that?
The author realizes that at the end of the day, no one else can walk your path for you.
That is true.
If you are going to stand up from that bench, it has to be on your own 2 feet. You have to be the one to decide to take that tiny step forward.
It is a stark reality.
Yeah.
No one can digest your pain for you.
Yeah.
But we connect this to the bigger picture. The text provides a beautiful counterweight to that isolation.
What's the counterweight?
Yes, you must stand on your own, but you do not have to do it in a vacuum. The author talks about human emotions having natural waves, much like the ocean.
And fighting those waves, telling yourself you shouldn't feel sad or you shouldn't feel anxious, is what causes the exhaustion. You just drown faster.
Exactly. And this is where the role of genuine human connection becomes vital.
Right.
The author highlights the specific type of support that actually helped them recover, and it is a stark contrast to what we usually think of as support.
It wasn't loud, forced encouragement.
No. It wasn't a friend shouting, "You can do it, be strong, look on the bright side."
Because telling an exhausted person to look on the bright side is just throwing them right back into the trap of correctness.
It's demanding they perform positivity for you.
Toxic positivity. It would have just made the author feel guilty for still being tired.
The support that truly mattered, the connection that actually facilitated healing, came from someone who didn't deny their weakness.
Ah.
It was a person who didn't awkwardly run away when the author was in a dark mood. It was someone who listened to their messy, unresolved complaints without immediately jumping in to fix the problem.
They provided a safe harbor for the storm rather than trying to change the weather.
Perfectly said.
The essay distills this into a core insight that I think completely redefines resilience. The author realized that people don't stand back up because they are inherently strong.
Or because a motivational speaker told them to be strong.
Right. People actually start moving forward when they truly feel it's okay to be weak here.
That is the bedrock of genuine resilience.
It makes so much sense.
When you are provided an environment, whether by a friend or by a quiet park bench where you are allowed to drop the heavy armor of pretending everything is fine, your nervous system settles.
Because you aren't fighting yourself anymore.
When you're allowed to be exhausted and confused without any judgment, you stop wasting energy on the performance. And slowly, organically, the real, quiet strength to take that next tiny step begins to return.
It's entirely about letting go of that desperate, white-knuckled need for control.
Yeah.
So bringing this all together, what does this mean for you listening to this today?
It's a big shift.
It is. I think the core realization from this entire deep dive is profoundly liberating. The moment your life truly changes for the better isn't the moment you finally figure out how to dominate the world.
No, it's not.
It is not the moment you optimize your morning routine to absolute perfection or find the ultimate productivity hack. The pivot happens the moment you loosen the grip of the force trying to control yourself.
It is about extending grace to yourself,
Yeah.
giving yourself explicit permission to be a messy, complicated, sometimes exhausted human being operating in a wildly uncontrollable world.
So, to you, listening right now, the next time you feel completely crushed under the weight of trying to perfectly fix a broken season in your life,
When the five-step plans have fallen apart.
and the self-help books just feel like heavy bricks of guilt sitting on your nightstand, remember the park bench,
You might not need a new routine.
you definitely do not need a forced, artificial, positive attitude.
What you likely need is to just stop issuing demands to reality and give your mind a place to rest.
You might just need to find a quiet space to allow your tangled, anxious thoughts to finally unravel without judging them.
Just let them be.
Which leaves us with one final thought to ponder as we wrap up today. Staring at the vast, indifferent, uncontrollable night sky is what helped this author detach from their exhausting illusion of control.
It worked wonders for them.
But we can't always wait for midnight, and we don't always have a quiet park bench nearby when panic sets in.
Very true.
So, what are the everyday, daytime equivalents of that night sky in our own modern, busy lives?
That's a great question.
Where can you look right in the middle of a chaotic, stressful Tuesday afternoon to find that quiet, visual reminder that the world will keep turning perfectly fine regardless of your carefully laid plans? Something to think about as you navigate the week ahead. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we will catch you next time.